What is up, party people? This is the Lifeonaire Show podcast. On this episode, Peter, what are we talking about?
Talking about Wojo's book that's being released.
Dude, it's being released.
I cannot freaking believe it's happening, man. Can you?
Yes. Dude, 3+ years of writing. And the reason we're going to share this in the podcast is because, we're going to share with you guys, number one is why I believe you really, really want to pick up a copy. It's going to serve your life and a business in a huge way, but also kind of some of the things that you can actually tactically and practically think of applying to your life and your business to benefit yourself and move towards your vision.
And I actually got some questions that maybe their listeners are going to want to know that before they even go and look at this book, because I mean, is it in English first of all, foremost?
It is in English. I have not had a Polish translation yet.
Now, can a Polak like me actually read it and understand it?
So, all right. So, first of all, let's for those of you who don't know, this is Polish Peter. He's a co-host. My name is Jason Wojo. I'm the host of the Lifeonaire Show podcast. And on this show, we share things that are hopefully practical and useful for you, while also providing a little bit of corny humor in the process, only because we are corny humans that
we just bust each other's up.
Yeah, we bust each other's tail. So check it out. Dude, 3+ years of writing. Yes, you are going to be able to understand it, but let me tell you about this. And so for those of you, I also want to pull some meta lessons out of this for people that are going after projects of their own. It's not just about the book. It's about what it means to commit to something for a period of time until you see it through to completion. Mm-hmm. And, dude, so many people give up when they're inches away from gold. I wanted to give up writing this book multiple times. As you know, it took me several rewrites, like literally rewrites, to get this thing correct. Little context for you guys. So I write this book. Again, it took me over 3 years, over 72,000 words. Now, if you are familiar with books, you'll get 250 words per page, roughly. And so that means this book would have been well over 300 pages. And no one's going to read a 300+ page book. And so this is not something that I was capable of getting out there. And so I had to really kind of go back to the drawing board and put this into perspective to make it not only sizable for the average person to consume, but also the other thing with a book is that Peter was kind of joking around about, but it's true. And there's a lesson here for anybody else you're doing marketing, you're doing websites, you're doing whatever. You have to make it digestible to people and make it easy to understand. Now, that's not please don't take this as being like elitist or anything like that. But most people can comprehend simpler words better. And that's just human nature. Like, you can use big words and you can try to impress people, which in fact I was rewarded for doing when I got my graduate level education, but I had to unlearn it for the publishing of this book. And so when my first version of the book, that 72,000 word version, I put it through Hemingway, which rates the grade level at which, the writing is. And dude, it came back as postgraduate. Like, oh no.
Were you writing towards doctors? That's your
I know.
audience,
I should have just kept it for the scientific community. No. And so I went back and my goal was the 6th grade reading level. And that is not to say that people can only read at a 6th grade reading level, but it just makes it smoother and easier to comprehend. Mm-hmm. And so it was really interesting for me. So that was one of the rewrites, in fact, to go back and kind of find those words and really kind of distill it down to make something that is like used. And of course people could understand it, but I don't want somebody to have to, even use an ounce of mental energy to figure out what a word is versus like internalizing the message and the lesson I'm trying to share in that part of the book.
Yeah, so the book is not complexified. It's simplified.
No, I did use the word complexify, I think, in the book.
Did you really?
Out of homage for you, bro. I did it for you.
Well, okay. Well, hopefully there was a mention to
I did not mention your name in the complexification.
All right. So listen. So here's the thing. There are some lessons that actually, you talked about, carrying it through, because there'll be some tough times when you go through a project and things like that. But let me ask you, going back to the book, because there is a reason why you wrote this book, because you could have said like, forget it. There's so many, especially when it comes to business, right?
Oh my gosh.
How many books are in there on business? It's kind of gazillion, I think.
Oh, bazillion. Yeah.
So why did you end up writing this book?
Dude, I really felt like I had something that meaningfully contributed to the body of knowledge of business. And the goal I have, man, and this is something that I was really impressed upon, well, was impressed upon me early on, is like this value of having a life and a business. Like, yes, if you want to just have a business and scale and grow, then yeah, there's practical tools in the book to help people do that. But the real ambition, man, my heart for people that read the book and to pick it up is to help them have like a really clear picture of what they want their life to look like and a very tactical and practical solution to get there. And because, it's one thing to say like, hey, yeah, I know what I want my life to look like. And, we talk about this all the time on the show. I want to work 20 hours a week and I want to make whatever, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, or whatever the number is. But then you're like, okay, so how do I do that? And I felt like there was a gap in that knowledge out there that really walked people through a cohesive, simple, step-by-step system to do that. And so, dude, I did want to give up multiple times, and the end was not in sight for years. But I just kept going because I just believed so powerfully in the message that I share in the book, that it was worth it for me to put it out there. So that, gosh, man, if this helps, if this changes one life, I will feel like it's worth it. Now, of course, hopefully it's many, many, many more. But, I just knew that I had something special that, I could share with the world. And I feel like whenever any of us have something that's powerful that can influence and share and help other people, like we have an obligation, I believe, almost to do that. Like it's kind of like unethical almost to keep it to yourself, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. So what I'm hearing from you right now is, someone who is working a lot, someone who's got a business that's kind of like running their life, the gap that you saw that you kind of filled in this particular book is that how do I set up this business that's going to support my life? So I'm not working 80 hours. I'm working more like 20 or whatever is this that I want. And I think there is a big missing in the people's lives, especially in the business world, that they don't really have a very clear picture of what the life's supposed to look like. They have a business plan, but they don't have a life thing. So there is the gap that you're filling up over there, right?
Yep.
Okay, so if someone is overworked, someone who's like business is running them as opposed to them running the business, this will be a good book for them to pick it up.
Oh, dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So go ahead.
Let me say one thing. So it's really, and what's interesting about writing a book is like, it really forces you to examine your thinking very, very carefully. Because for instance, like you can have a theory or a hypothesis of how something works until you really pressure test it to make sure that it works. You haven't thought through it deeply enough to really make it universally applicable. And that's what I believe I've done with the book. And
so give me an example specific out of the book, maybe.
Well, for instance, like, so one of the steps in this process, this framework that I teach, is eliminating things out of your business. And, you could do this in your life too, but like in your business, right? And so I had put together a framework of like, hey, here's how you should eliminate things. And then I started thinking more. I'm like, you know what? Well, but if they eliminate that, there's also going to be this other downstream effect that is going to be a result of eliminating this. So let's say, for instance, you eliminate a low performing part of your business. Well, let's say you have a product that you offer. Well, some people might buy that product. So you could actually decrease your overall revenue as a result of discontinuing this product. Mm-hmm. So that would be a negative effect. And so what it did is I started to kind of think of like, okay, well, whenever you make any decision, and particularly when we're talking about elimination, you really have both direct effects and indirect effects. And at a deeper level, you don't just have a direct effect and an indirect effect, but you also have a positive direct and a negative direct, and a positive indirect and a negative indirect. And so basically it's almost like a matrix that any decision you make, and I use this in the book for elimination again, allows you to kind of examine this as a net positive, because decisions, whether it's elimination or not, all have positives and negatives, and they're weighted. And so you've got to be able to compare these things objectively to make sure you're making the right decision, so that the end result of whatever decision, whatever thing you choose to eliminate in your business, is a net positive. It's not going to be 100% positive. So let's say we discontinue this product, right? So an example of of a direct positive would be that now our team is more consolidated to focus on higher leverage activities in business. A negative indirect could be, well, maybe you had a few people that really loved that, and now not only are you going to lose them, which would have been a direct effect, but like you are going to miss out on the referrals that they would have given you. So like it's just, that's an example of like how like when you start to kind of pressure test anything, you start to recognize exceptions to the rule that you have to try to minimize, and you start to recognize like little places where there's cracks in the logic. And so the way you do this, the way you overcome this is by testing it with other businesses, testing it with your own business, and really thinking through from an academic perspective of like, how does this actually apply to our life, to our business, to our decisions? And so hopefully that answered your question, but like that was one that I recognized, like I didn't have a framework for that prior to the book. And so I had to really recognize like, this is an area that I had neglected. There may have been parts I knew intuitively about that, or I'd seen like indirectly or observed with other businesses, but it wasn't until I put a framework together that I understood like how deeply like some of these concepts go.
Okay, so yeah, that's one of the things that you talked about, like elimination, and I know it's a big part in this whole method that you created, kind of a thing. So my question to you is, and I know this is, someone is thinking about, okay, should I go look at this book or not? Do you have any kind of like a practical examples that they could expect to be able to go and look at when it comes to their business? Like how would that actually apply to my business? Because you don't know my business. You don't know how it works. So
dude,
how would it
right.
actually apply to it,
So I will tell you like my belief based on, and by the way, let me just say this. This book was not made up from thin air or from an armchair or from a lab bench or from like my desk. What I had done is I've taken the principles that I've been originally that I started observing with other people, tested in my own business, then tested them in other businesses till they got to the point where they were whittled down to their core essence to make sure that these are the accurate principles that are transferable to other businesses. And so the fact that this has been in effect for, at this point, years, man, and some of these principles we've been teaching at our Business Builder workshop for 4 or 5 years now, we've had the chance to see it applied to different businesses, everything from power washing businesses to personal training businesses to chiropractic businesses to storage businesses. Like the business really doesn't matter, because at a high level, every business has the same core challenges. Number one, your business probably relies on you more than it should. Number two, you don't really have systems and people in place to help you. And partly because I get it. Like when you start off a business, you really are the founding member and you're the person who gets all the traction. Like it is on your back and it is your baby and you're doing all the work, but you don't evolve. And so this book is really about the evolution of a business owner to become a true owner and not just own a job. And the sad truth, when I say sad, I don't mean that negatively, because if your vision is that you want to be the technician and you want to be doing all the work and you are okay with the risks and vulnerabilities of that, then I'm your biggest cheerleader. But it is a sad situation if you don't intend to be that person who has a self-employed job rather than be a business owner. And so it's really an evolution of how to kind of like really, number one, orchestrate your life and your business together so they support each other versus conflict and cause friction. But two is like, how do you elevate yourself as a business owner? And the book is, man, I struggled with this because in the subtitle, I almost wanted to put the little disclaimer, not disclaimer, it's the little like verbiage here that says like the tactical field manual to XYZ. Right now, the subtitle is Build a Profitable Business That Gives You Your Time, Freedom, and Life Back. But I wanted to put the tactical field manual because, dude, the book is tactical. It's it is a little bit, in the weeds and perhaps a little bit too much in the weeds, because I really want to give people something that they can use. And I didn't want it to be high level or like just in theory. I want it to be very, very practical, so that, you can apply it to like you said, whatever business it is you have.
All right. So listen, so someone who's listening to it, I want you to give us the strategic actual example that someone that, let's say, would use this book, someone that actually did this method of what was it like before, what happened during, and what is the end result for that particular person.
Yeah, man. So I'm going to use an example. This guy is a real estate investor, but I never like saying the business because I want people to, I don't want them to tune out if they're not a real estate investor. So this guy's a flipper, but listen to the underlying messages and the themes of what I'm going to share with you and see how you can apply it to your business as you're listening right now. So here's a guy who is working essentially from 8 a.m. to 10 to 11 p.m. at night, 5 days a week. So you're looking at, what's the math on that? 14-hour workdays, 12-hour, more than 12-hour workdays, 13, 14-hour workdays. Weekends also consumed essentially by work, and if he's not working, he's thinking about work, right? So he's not really there with his family. That was problem number one. Number two is profit was stagnant, and he was kind of stuck at this for the previous couple of years. He hadn't broken through that. And number three, the business was really built on him. So he was doing everything. So he was going out and he was doing the marketing to find deals. He was actually designing the postcards. He's sending out the mailers. He is, literally the guy who's licking stamps, sending the stuff out. He's sitting down with the sellers. He's negotiating the deals. He's getting it to closing. He's managing the rehab. He's managing the sale, like literally everything, right? And so everything. Which, by the way, side note, in business, when you do this, like, you quickly become the bottleneck in your business and you can't move forward. So he implements this process, which number one starts off with a vision, right? So this is the strategize part of the seed framework. So he creates his vision. What is the perfect life that he wants to look like? And so he identified what that was, and it included a lot more time with his family and doing things that he really wanted to do in the business and doing the things that he loved. So the first thing we did is, we walked through the process, SEAD. He created his vision. The next one was eliminate. So the first thing he realized was all the things that he could eliminate in the business. And the way you identify these things, by the way, is through this business architecture map. We call it a BAM. I teach this in the book. We've done this at the Business Builder Workshop as well. And so you identify what are the things that are low performing, that are not contributing to the vision of the life or your business, and that you really shouldn't even have at all present in your organization. The next thing he did is, using the BAM, he identified the things he could automate. And the last thing was the things he could delegate. And so, to make a long story short, once we went through this process, and we're about 7 months into the process now, so this is not a final picture of what this can look like. I think it can look a lot better. But I also want to say, this does take a little bit of time. It's not going to happen overnight. So the first thing he was able to do is cut back from those 8 a.m. to 10 or 11 p.m. and stop working approximately the same time as kids got home from school, which is around 3:30, 4 o'clock every day. Which, by the way, I'll say this, for me, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. is still a long work day. But for him, it's huge progress. It's huge progress. So that was number one. Number two is he was able to increase his profit, not his revenue, right, but profit. That's the most important thing here, by about 20% by taking the things. So someone might be thinking right now, well, how is that possible? By working less, because he was taking the things off his plate that he was either dropping those balls himself on, or he was doing really poorly because he was so busy or so scattered. So he's able to increase profit by approximately 20%. And the last thing, which he really seemed to enjoy the most, was now he's able to focus on the things in his business that moved the needle the most, that he enjoyed, that he was good at, that he loved doing. So now, there was this friction between life and business was really minimized. And again, it still has some room to grow. There's still room to run in this. But he was able to work less, make more money, and do the things in his business that he enjoyed doing. It's a win in 3 different areas.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then hopefully those of you who are listening to this podcast right now actually listen to him between the lines, because he dropped a lot of nuggets in this one little story that will apply to your own business, So quick couple of fire away questions.
Yeah.
Biggest nugget that person can get out of this book.
So I think the biggest nugget is there's 3 reasons why people don't have the life and business they want. Number one is you said it earlier, they haven't really identified what the life they want to live is. Number 2, they have a mindset issue around working less and an identity issue potentially against stepping away from the business. And number 3 is, even if those 2 things aren't an issue, they don't know how to actually do it. So this book addresses all 3 of those points.
Okay, next fire question, because I don't think we actually said on the podcast yet. What is the title of the book?
That would be good. The book is called Business for Life. Subtitle is Build a Profitable Business. Profit's important. Build a profitable business that gives you your time, freedom, and life back.
Next question, because some people might be thinking, how many actual pages are in the book right now? Because you went down through some almost like a New Testament kind of a thing, down to how
It
many
went from
pages?
So in disclosure, it is 258 pages, but that includes like that includes table of contents, includes the forward, includes the blurbs from other authors and people that have read the book. So that's not all content.
Okay, there's a lot of strategy and there are a lot of tactics that you can actually take, exercise that you can take for apply to your business.
Absolutely,
Correct?
1,000%.
All right. Awesome. Next question. Where would the people go and get that book?
So you can get the book at businessforlife.com. And by the way, it's gonna redirect you to Amazon. And if you are listening to this podcast right now, and it is between March 10th and 12th, you have the opportunity to get a bunch of extra special, super valuable things that I've put some time into. Their resources or tools to help you implement this system more quickly than you could on your own. And so I put a lot of time and effort into curating these to help you move quicker and easier with this, Business for Life process. And so if you're listening to this, go to businessforlife.com right now, grab your copy or copies. I do give some incentives for multiple copies because I think it's really important if you're in business with either number one, you care about other business owners, you want them to have the same knowledge, or there's people in your business who could benefit from being on the same page. Like you can get multiple copies. And then you can take part in those bonuses when you get during that launch window.
So you think if someone that read this book, do you think their employees will benefit from this as well?
Oh, dude, for 100%, because you want them to know, listen, and by the way, I'm going to catch you here for a second, Peter. We call them team members because you want them to be on the same team as you. You don't want to be the boss. You don't want an employee. But it's important. One of the things I talk about in the book is how important it is for you guys to be on the same page in terms of what's the mission? What are you trying to accomplish? How are you doing it? Why are you making the decisions you're making so that you remove yourself as a bottleneck as the leader. So you don't want to be the one to make all the decisions and have all the information. You want everybody to have the same information.
And there you go. There's another nugget from the book. From you think about team members, if you just shifted that kind of perspective with your own employees as team members, do you think you would be operating in a much more efficient and cohesive way? Awesome. All right. So go grab a book. Don't hesitate. I know this book because I've seen it. I've read it. I think there's a lot of powerful strategies in there. There is tactics that you actually use it. Actually take what's in the book and apply it to your business. I have no doubt that it's going to shift your business in a positive way because we do this at the business builder events. We've done it in the coaching in Lifeonaire, and this stuff works. So go out there, pick up a copy, businessforlife.com, businessforlife.com. And I'm excited for you. Congrats, dude. I'm so impressed, proud of you, man. 3 years in the making.
Dude.
I know this book is going to make a difference for people's lives, going to shift their lives. And I can't wait to see how business is going to be transformed, actually how people and families and marriages and kids and in all those different things. And faith probably is going to be transformed because of that book. So kudos to you. Go out there, pick up a copy for yourself, and let us know how it goes.
Thanks, brother. Thanks, everybody.